Hi, this is Ike from IkesOutdoors.com. Today we're going to be showing you how to install a Code Red Ripcord arrow rest. We've got a high country iron mace here, and it's lacking one of the key components, which is our Code Red Ripcord arrow rest. So we're going to show you how to set that up, we're going to show you how to time that, and we're going to show you a couple things to keep an eye out for an improperly timed rest, and just kind of give you a few pointers as we go. Okay, the best and easiest thing to do is to have a nice bow vise that you can put this in. Unfortunately, with this shop, I don't have that luxury right now, and I know a lot of you guys out there that are going to be installing these at home that are watching this video probably don't have that luxury as well. So we're going to show you how to do this without any fancy shop tools. We're going to just do this with basically a set of Allen wrenches and some matches is probably about all we're going to use. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to install this on our bow. And a nice little tip here, you can see whenever I install something on my bow, as far as my rest goes, I put a little bit of white lithium grease on there. I've never had a problem with that backing out. But it will help if you're out, like me, you're out in the rain and the weather. It's going to help keep this from seizing up in there. I always put just a touch of white lithium grease on my accessories. So what we're going to do is we're going to bolt this right here to the side of our bow, right there on the outside of our riser. And we're just going to put it. I like to put mine in that outside burger hole. You can put it in the inside one, as well. Some bows may only have one burger hole. This one's got two, so that's where I put mine. So we're going to put that on there, and we're going to just level this up by eye for right now. It's pretty easy to do, especially with most of these new bows. They got these cutouts here. So I'm just going to level this up, get my up and down set pretty level. And what I use is I like to use that front hole as a reference. This notch, this cutout here, is almost the same size as those burger holes. So if I got the top of that burger hole lined up with the top of my notch, and the bottom of that burger hole lined up with the bottom of that notch, then I know this is pretty well straight and pretty well level. Probably going to be close enough that way. So once you get that nice and tight there, or level there, tighten that up pretty good and make it pretty snug. Check it over, just make sure, give it a good visual inspection and make sure that it's pretty close to level. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set our elevation, and then we're going to set our left and right, we're going to set our windage. Okay, so if you have an existing knocking point, you can use a bow square and just pop that on your string. And what I do is I'll set that about 1/8 of an inch below my existing knocking point. So get that clamped on there real good, and I'm just going to look down the back side of the arrow, and I'm going to put my arrow, which this clamp is going to hold it perfectly straight, and I'm going to make sure there's about 1/8 of an inch of gap right there between the bottom of that arrow and the rest. Then when I put my arrow on there, everything will be lined up the way that I want it. Now, one way to check this too is with your burger holes. Your arrow should be lined up right there with your two burger holes. What I like to do is my arrow is just slightly below the top, almost covering them up, except for just a little bit of the top of the burger holes. And that's my elevation is set up and down. And look at your arrow, make sure your arrow is not leaning one way down or way up, and get that thing pretty close to level. That's going to be a good indication by looking at your burger holes. If you don't have a square, you can look at your burger holes and you can kind of line it up there, and that should be a pretty good indication of your elevation being set correctly. Now we're going to set our left and right. Set this left and right is pretty easy to do. What I'll do is I'll get this as close as I can by eye. To set the left and right, you just pop this screw up here loose. You got your windage marks here, or your left and right marks there, whatever you want to call them. And you'll just slide this over until you think you got it about square. And I'll just eyeball down the arrow using it and my sight. And I'll just look at it until I feel like I've got my left and right good and square, which looks like I'm still just a little bit left. Lock that back up into place. And every bow is going to be different. You're going to be able to take a tape measure here and measure to make sure everything's straight. But what I recommend most people doing is walk back tuning. What walk back tuning is going to do is going to get your arrow where it's pointing perfectly straight. If you're pointing off to the right, walk back tuning is going to show you that. And we've got a video on our website, IkesOutdoors.com, that'll show you how to walk tune these rests. So it looks like I'm still just a little bit right, or left I mean, so I need to move it to the right. And that's probably going to be pretty close. And I'm right about in the center of the shelf on this iron mace. And that's going to be pretty close enough for now. And then, like I said, we're going to walk back tune it and we'll get everything lined up. You can check that on our website. If you can't find it on the website, feel free to contact us, and we'll show you how to do. We'll show you how to walk back tune it. We'll give you a good link to that video. Okay, now one of the tips that we're going to give you on this rest is it works best with your cock feather up. If your cock feather's down, even when that drops out of the way, even if it drops out of the way completely, especially these big veins, even when that's out of the way, it's going to contact that vein. It's just barely above your shelf, so it's going to contact that vein. That vein's going to contact your plunger on your rest. So you want your cock feather up. On this iron mace, we've got a roller guard here, and you can see that cock feather is going to hit that. So what I'm going to do, instead of being in the perfect 12 o'clock position, I'm going to rotate that over to where it's almost in about the 2 o'clock position. What I can also do is basically rotate my cock feather to where it's out. My cock feather will be out instead of being up. So with some of these bows, you're going to have to do a little bit different to get the proper clearance on this rest, but avoid putting your cock feather down, because no matter how well you got this thing timed, you're probably going to end up rubbing it across that plunger. So I like to go cock feather out on this because of that roller guard. On most of my bows, though, I go just like that with my cock feather up. So the next thing we're going to do here is we're going to time this rest, and we're going to show you some of the things to look for when you're timing this rest. Okay, so now that we've got our rest all set up, we've got to time this thing. This is a real simple, easy process to do. There's a couple different locations for your football clamp. If you're shooting a bow with a binary cam system like this iron mace that I'm shooting, the Elite or the Bowtex, you're going to want this about 2 to 2.5 inches up from the bottom of your handle. A good reference point for me is I'll line up this bolt or this corner here with that corner with my football. Now if you're shooting a solo cam or a binary or a hybrid cam system like the Hoyt, the Matthews, or some of the other bows, the PSEs, you're going to want this down, just about down there, just about even with the bottom of your handle. So with this binary cam system, we're going to put it right up there where we talked about. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start out with about 3 to 3.5 inches of cord hanging out of my football clamp. You can eyeball this, you can get your tape measure out either way, but about 3 to 3.5 inches of cord hanging out the bottom of my football clamp. So I'm going to pull that through. I'm going to tighten this football clamp down snug, and I'm going to pull this bow back. Now, you're going to want to come to full draw, and you want to do this with an arrow on. You don't want to dry fire this bow, and you want to point it in a safe direction. So, with that down tight, fairly tight, I'm going to go ahead and pull this bow back. And you can see there, as I came to full draw, I felt like I hit a wall. What that means is I've got this too tight. I need to put some more slack in here. If you go and you're pulling back and your cord's getting tight and you feel like you're hitting a wall, don't try to power through it. Don't try to muscle through that. What it means is you've got this too tight. So we're going to put a little bit of slack in there. We're going to loosen this thing up. Okay, so now I've put a little bit more slack in there. Put a little bit more slack on this side of my football. I'm going to come to full draw again, and I'm going to check the timing on this rest. You can see there that the rest is disengaged, but it disengaged a little too early, and when it unlocked, it fell down. Instead of being in a good upright position, it actually fell down a little bit further. That's an indication that you have too much cord in there, and you need to tighten it up. So I was too tight before, and I felt like I was hitting a wall when I came to full draw. Now when I came to full draw, it fell just a little bit too early, and didn't remain in a good upright position like it's supposed to. So I'm going to make a little bit more of adjustments. We're there, we're real close. We just need to really work on the timing now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull about 1/8 inch at a time out of this. I'm going to make this tighter 1/8 of an inch at a time until I get that timing where I like it. So we'll come to full draw again. You can see right there I felt it disengage, and it still remains in a good upright position. It disengaged right at the last part of my draw, and that is the correct way your ripcord should look. Again, with it in the upright position, you should unlock at the very last of your draw. When you let down, it'll fall away. So that's how easy it is to time this rest. The main key with this is just to be patient. observe what happens when you pull the bow back to full draw and make your adjustments accordingly to that. If you pull back and you hit the wall, that means you're too tight and you need more slack in between your football and your rest. If you pull back and your rest does not get disengaged, it means you're too loose and you need to take some of the slack out of the cord in between your football and your rest. Now that you've got your Code Red Ripcord all set up, get out there and have fun and let it rip. I'm Mike from Mike'sOutdoors.com. Be sure to visit our website. For more information on this Code Red Ripcord, be sure to visit their website, which is RipcordArrowRest.com. Appreciate you watching.
I like good times, good wine, good smoke, and a five-piece bed. And I can't help it, it's just